What you know? Want to know?
Yeah. Let me think this first.
Good question.
You have to even ask.
How do I know it's enough time?
Oh, yes.
Yes, because how much time do you guys spend studying?
Even then, oh, you did. Like, I mean, that might be
Got about 30 seconds left. 30 seconds.
The money comes right down when you say 30 seconds. It's just a stressful, it's a stressful experience for me.
All right, finish up your final writing, and we'll have you go ahead and take a seat. You can leave your graphic organizer where it's at. We're going to come back to that a little bit later on. All right. So up to this point, you've heard at least 6 different opportunities for students to improve themselves. We talked about where their mindset is. So a lot of this has to do with their thinking errors. What they thought was going to be best practice and maybe it wasn't. Or, you know, I don't need to study. And you saw the slide in the beginning with that girl that thought, you know, I nailed it. And then the scores popped up and went, what? They didn't get it. They couldn't understand it. They couldn't interpret it. So, it has been scientifically proven that the less you know, the more you think you know. Aren't that big? So it really kind of summarizes what the author was trying to say in this whole chapter. Next slide. So, Dunning and Kruger came along and they had this concept. They did this study. And in typical psychology form, they got real wordy on it. What I want you to do is, in a normal situation, you'd have this cheat sheet that's got the colors. Should be the lightning side up. What I would normally do is I would have some titles here, and I'd have you fill them in. Knowing that it is 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, it is not my most effective time to be doing anything. Okay, my mind's starting to shut down. I'm physically, emotionally tapped after a 6-hour day to this point, knowing that I still have another hour to go. So I have the students get involved, but in this case, if it's going to be a late afternoon activity, I'll sometimes give them a cheat, or I'll let them have the notes. But as I've shared with you, reading out loud sometimes for me is one dimension. Even as an instructor, so when I read a slide, or if I read something off of the sheet, it's only one dimension. However, if I have somebody else read that to me, it becomes 2-dimensional. I can read along visually, and then I can audibly take that in. I'm very much an audible learner. So when it comes to taking notes, I will simply, even sometimes write a cipher for my notes. So in this case, I kind of summarized it for you, but I'm still going to ask for your help. Here's my caveat to the student. If you read for me, for instance, if you look at box number 1, it talks about Dunning and Kruger effect. If somebody's willing to read with me, or read that out loud for me, you do not have to answer any questions, any follow-up with that category. Because I understand I want you to focus and read aloud effectively and go from there. Okay? So
I'll do it.
Eric, thank you. Would you read to me box number 1, the upper left-hand corner? What is the Dunning-Kruger effect?
The skills that make us good at something are the same skills we need in order to evaluate if we are, in fact, good at it. Do you want me to continue with the sentence?
Yes, please.
This means you don't know something, you make mistakes, and you don't realize you are making mistakes.
Okay? So it's that I don't know theory, or I'm going along thinking I'm doing the right thing. Remember your first year of teaching?
Oh.
Maybe it's your first year of college as a student. Running along, think I know what I'm doing, and then you found the curve at the edge of the street. Where did you land? Right in the face. Right? Ooh, I didn't know that was going to turn out like that. All right? So that's just an example.
But if you find the fork in the road, you ought to take it.
ooh, which one is it? And if you're traveling at the speed of sound, and you hit that fork, and now you have to make that sudden decision, what if you roll over? Yeah, it's a choice sometimes. So, Eric kind of summarized this for us. Is there somebody that's willing to read this one right here? Actually, this one right here. Is there somebody that's willing to read that for me? Stacy?
Sure. The bottom one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
For poor performers to recognize their ineptitude would require them to possess the very expertise they lack. David Dunning, we are all confident idiots.
Yeah, we're all confident idiots. So if you go back to that context and that gentleman that's quoted in the beginning slide, putting it into his own words, you sometimes even know what you suck, but you don't got it. All right? So, continuing on, is there somebody that would like to read box number 2 for me? Adam, thank you.
Error of the omission. We are only aware of possible solutions to a problem that we can bring to mind. We can't think of the possible solutions we don't know about. We don't know what we don't know. Is 80% out of 100% good? Do you want your surgeon missing 20%? And my answer is, if I'm dying, I do not care. I just need a surgeon.
Yeah. And in my world, that's my job, is to get you to the good doctor. I trust that the good doctor, he's not going to miss that 20%. If he does, your life might hang in the balance. And I look at it from this standpoint, is how many failures who's the gentleman that invented the light bulb? How many failures did he have before we got to that point? Hundreds. So sometimes we have to kind of learn from our mistakes, or learn what, you don't even know what it is that we want to create. At the end, it's not even what we started off thinking it was going to be. Next slide, please. So, here's exactly what it looks like. Oops, go back. So, straight line. That's what the students think when they walk in the door. It's going to be bing, bing. And in reality, it's going to look something more like this. We're going to wander around lost for a while. It's going to be challenging. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to lose that interest to study. We're going to lose focus on our goal. But ultimately, if we encourage them, success is just around the corner, just over the next hill. There might be a false summit, but we'll get over it. Next slide. Is there somebody that's willing to read the third box was summarized a lot with group number 2, but it is just a summary. So I've got 3 bullet points on the sheet. Would someone like to read that for me? Thanks, Jake.
Tendency to self-enhance, self-serving bias, attribute success to personal qualities, fundamental attribution error, attribute behavior to their internal qualities, and confirmation bias is a person's tendency to look for information that proves their belief to be correct.
Okay. So I highlighted C because that's kind of new information. It really hasn't been brought up until this point. It's been mentioned here and there, but now we've kind of put a definition to what that is. So, next slide. So here are some examples to kind of summarize what's going on there. Is there anyone that's interested in reading the comment? Or you can read it to yourselves. Go ahead and take a minute and read it. So this is one of those, with somebody that has a reading disability, give me a minute, let it soak in a little bit. Some of you maybe raced through it and already got it. You've heard this several times today, so we're just going to kind of move on. Next slide. So I'm going to let Vince explain this. I want you to take 30 seconds and read this. If you think back to that slide where we talked about those different concepts, I'm going to let Vince explain this because in his words, with his tone of voice, drives it home.
So earlier we talked quite a bit about attribution. This slide represents fundamental attribution error. Each of these drivers in this gridlock traffic jam believes that the gridlock traffic jam is the fault of all the other drivers. If all these other cars weren't on the road, I could just drive my car down this road without all this interference. Right? This is fundamental attribution error. When things happen to other people that are negative, we attribute those negative things to aspects of that person's personality. Right? If you ever want to, this is great, if you ever want to get out of jury duty, say, well, the cops arrested him, he must be guilty. He'll be on the street in half an hour. Right? And that's an example of fundamental attribution error. Right? So,
very good. So the next one is confirmation bias. I want to believe.
There are aliens.
I want want to believe what it is that you're telling me, but it just doesn't sound right, all right? A good surgeon once told me, he said, I think that person's suffering from a rectal cranial inversion. Think about that for a minute. Rectal cranial inversion. All right? I want to believe that that's possible. In fact, some of you are visualizing it, so it just might be possible. But I don't know. I just don't know. All right? Next slide, please. Focus on your abilities. Some of you would need to get this close to say, yep, that's a pigeon. All right? And I think about this from a cultural standpoint. Sometimes they need that microscopic vision. For us, looking at this from a distance, from across the street in the park, I can see, yep, that's a pigeon. All right? Judging by the feces on my windshield, that came from a pigeon. Some of us can go that far. Okay? So, next slide. Who would like to read this one? Is there anybody? Thank you.
Hindsight. This tendency to say we knew the right answer after it is given is called hindsight bias.
All right, so really what that is as you're reviewing the test, they go, oh, I knew that. Well, hell no, you didn't. You didn't put the right answer down. Next slide, please. So, this is Mr. Hindsight, our superhero.
Captain Hindsight.
Excuse me, Captain Hindsight, I guess he got a promotion. And these are his sidekicks. Should've, could've, and would've. I guess I should have studied a little bit longer. I could have maybe actually read the textbook. And would have just, I guess, maybe got me found.
Would have known the right answer.
I would have known the right answer. Thank you. Next slide. So time. Time. Is there anyone that's interested in reading this one, please?
There's a tendency for people to underestimate how much time they need to complete a task, in part because we also tend to overestimate our ability to get things done. This is called planning fallacy.
It is. It is. So when I think about this, I think about when I come to work. I come to work on a Friday. It's usually a day I'm not in the classroom. This is the day that I wrap up the week's activities, reflect on things that went well, or make notes to my lesson plans. Did I remind the students of anything that they need to know? Shoot, I forgot. I send them quick emails and reminders. I prep for Monday and everything coming up in the next week. Should take me 4 hours. I'm out of there by 2 o'clock fishing in my happy place. World's gone by. It's Sunday. My wife says, "Did you go fishing this weekend?"
No, I didn't. I spent time lesson planning, fixing a lot of things, preparing things that I forgot that I had to do that week.
So the whole weekend was wasted. All right, it was a timing fallacy. It should have taken me 4 hours. Almost took me 4 days. Anybody else experience that here at CVTC? Next slide, please. So here's my plan. Right? There's your plan. So as a student, they have that same plan. And then here's the universe's plan for you. Right here, here's your false summit. Oop, there's another hill behind it. You're gonna go down and come back up. And then I don't know how we're gonna cross this water obstacle. Anybody golf? All right, I don't know what it is, but I'm a volunteer fireman, and my mom says that from the day I was born, I could find water anywhere and make a mess of it. So I would certainly be stuck in that water for days. So here's your timing fallacy. We sometimes don't see those hidden traps, if you will. Next. So as we kind of transition to, okay, those are some of your thinking errors, those are some of your everyday problems. And this is sometimes what we watch our students go through, and it's painful. How many of you have children? Please stand up if you have children. Your own children, biological, adopted, one size, shape, or form. Okay, great. Now, you're parenting, for those of you that are sitting down, I want you to listen to this. This is painful. But have you ever done this? Solve that you're going to fail. It's painful to watch, right? But it's important that we let them fail. Because there's more to learn from this than there would be from saving them. They're going to learn that somebody's always going to save me. Right? The other analogy that I use for this, I used to coach youth sports. You may sit down, thank you. I used to coach youth sports. I love it. And I always told the athletes that if we lose today, great. If we win today, that's even better. But we're always going to learn more from a loss. So as you're taking off your gear, I want you to do one thing for me. What was one thing that you could have done better to help our team? Keep it to yourself. And then what I want you to do is meet me out at the concession stand, we'll get ice cream, whatever the treat is for the week, for the day. And then when you come back on